glory, hallelujah. Glory, glory, hallelujah. As we go marching on. See there above the center where the flag is flying bright. We are coming out of slavery. We are bound for freedom. Rally round the flag, boys, rally once again, shouting the battle cry of freedom. We'll rally from the hillside and gather from the plain, shouting the battle cry of freedom. The Union forever, hurrah, boys, hurrah! Down with the traitor, up with the star, while we rally round the flag, boys, rally once again, shouting the battle cry of freedom. Oh, we're springing to the call of our brothers gone before, shouting the battle cry of freedom. We'll fill their vacant ranks with 1,000,000 free men more, shouting the battle cry of freedom. The Union forever, hurrah, boys, hurrah! Down with the traitor, up with the star, while we rally round the flag, boys, rally once again, shouting the battle cry of freedom. We'll welcome to our numbers, loyal, true, and brave, shouting the battle cry of freedom. And though they may be poor, not a man shall be a slave, shouting the battle cry of freedom. The Union forever, hurrah, boys, hurrah! Down with the traitor, up with the star, while we rally round the flag, boys, rally once again, shouting the battle cry of freedom. So we're springing to the call from the east and from the west, shouting the battle cry of freedom. We'll hurl the rebel crew from the land we love the best, shouting the battle cry of freedom. The Union forever, hurrah, boys, hurrah! Down with the traitor, up with the star, while we rally round the flag, boys, rally once again, shouting the battle cry of freedom. Hurrah for the choice of the nation, our chieftain so brave and so true. We'll go for the great Reformation, for Lincoln and liberty too. We'll go for the son of Kentucky, the hero of Hoosier him through. The pride of the suckers so lucky, for Lincoln and liberty too. They'll find what by felling and mauling our railmaker statesmen can do. For people are everywhere calling for Lincoln and liberty too. Then up with our banner so glorious, the stars spangled red, white, and blue. We'll fight till our banner's victorious for Lincoln and liberty too. Our David's good sling is unerring, the slaveocrat's giant he slew. So shout for freedom, preferring for Lincoln and liberty too. We'll go for the son of Kentucky, the hero of who should him through. The pride of the suckers so lucky for Lincoln and liberty too. We'll finish the temple of freedom and make it capacious within, so all who seek shelter may find it, whatever the hue of their skin. Whatever the hue of their skin, whatever the hue of their skin. So all who seek shelter may find it, whatever the hue of their skin. Success to that old-fashioned doctrine that men are created all free, and down with the power of the despot wherever his stronghold may be. We'll go for the son of Kentucky, the hero of who should him through. The pride of the suckers so lucky for Lincoln and liberty too. Come all you valiant soldiers, a story I will tell about the bloody battle that was fought on Shiloh Hill. It was an awful struggle that will cause your blood put to chill. It was the bloody battle that was fought on Shiloh Hill. It was the 6th of April, just at the break of day. The drums and fifes were playing for us to march away. The feelings of that hour I do remember still, for the wounded and the dying that lay on Shiloh Hill. About the hour of sunrise, the battle it began. Before the day had ended, we fought them hand to hand. The horrors of the field did my heart with anguish fill, for the wounded and the dying that lay on Shiloh Hill. There were men of every nation laid on those bloody plains. Fathers, sons, and brothers were numbered with the slain, that has caused so many homes with deep mourning to be filled, all from the bloody battle that was fought on Shiloh Hill. And early the next morning, we were called to arms again, unmindful of the wounded and unmindful of the slain. The struggle was renewed, and 10,000 men were killed. This was the second conflict of the famous Shiloh Hill. The battle it raged on, though dead and dying men lay thick all o'er the ground, on the hill and on the glen, and from their deadly wounds the blood ran like a rill. Such were the mournful sights that I saw on Shiloh Hill. Before the day had ended, the battle ceased to roar, and thousands of brave soldiers had fell to rise no more. They left their vacant ranks for some other ones to fill, and now their moldering bodies all lie on Shiloh Hill. John Brown's body lies a moldering in the grave. John Brown's body lies a moldering in the grave. John Brown's body lies a moldering in the grave, but his soul goes marching on. Glory, glory, hallelujah. Glory, glory, hallelujah. Glory, glory, hallelujah. His soul goes marching on. John Brown died so the slaves might be set free. John Brown died so the slaves might be set free. John Brown died so the slaves might be set free, and his soul goes marching on. Glory, glory, hallelujah. Glory, glory, hallelujah. Glory, glory, hallelujah. His soul goes marching on. Mine eyes have seen the glory of the coming of the Lord. He is trampling out the vintage where the grapes of wrath are stored. He hath loosed the fateful lightning of his terrible swift sword. His truth goes marching on. Glory, glory, hallelujah. Glory, glory, hallelujah. Glory, glory, hallelujah. His truth goes marching on. Well, we're the bully soldiers of the First of Arkansas. We're fighting for the Union. We are fighting for the law. We can hit a rebel further than a white man ever saw as we go marching on. Glory, glory, hallelujah. Glory, glory, hallelujah. Glory, glory, hallelujah. As we go marching on. See there above the center where the flag is flying bright. We are coming out of slavery. We are bound for freedom's light. We mean to show Jeff Davis how the Africans can fight as we go marching on. Glory, glory, hallelujah. Glory, glory, hallelujah. Glory, glory, hallelujah. As we go marching on. We are done with hoeing cotton. We are done with hoeing corn. We are colored Yankee soldiers now as sure as you were born. When the masters hear us yelling, they will think it's Gabriel's horn as we go marching on. Glory, glory, hallelujah. Glory, glory, hallelujah. Glory, glory, hallelujah. As we go marching on. They will have to pay us wages, the wages of their sin. They will have to bow their foreheads to their colored kith and kin. They will have to give us house room or the roof will tumble in as we go marching on. Glory, glory, hallelujah. Glory, glory, hallelujah. Glory, glory, hallelujah. As we go marching on. Eyes have seen the glory of the coming of the Lord. He is trampling out the vintage where the grapes of wrath are stored. He hath loosed the fateful lightning of his terrible swift sword. His truth goes marching on. Glory, glory, hallelujah. Glory, glory, hallelujah. Glory, glory, hallelujah. His truth goes marching on. The years trip slowly by Lorena. The snow is on the grass again. The sun's low down the sky, Lorena. The frost gleams where the flowers have been. But the heart throbs on as warmly now as when the summer days were nigh. The sun can never dip so low, adown affection's cloudless sky. Months have passed, Lorena, since last I held that hand in mine, and felt the pulse beat fast, Lorena, though mine beat faster far than thine. 100 monstrous flowery made, when up that hilly slope we climbed to watch the dying of the day and hear the distant church bells chime. We loved each other then, Lorena, more than we ever dared to tell. And what we might have been, Lorena, had but our lovings prospered well. But then 'tis past, the years are gone. I'll not call up their shadowy forms. I'll say to them, lost years, sleep on, nor heed life's pelting storms. In the prison cell I sit thinking, mother dear, of you, and our bright and happy home so far away. And the tears, they fill my eyes, spite of all that I can do. And I try to cheer my comrades and be gay. Tramp, 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 the boys are marching. Cheer up, comrades, they will come. And beneath the starry flag we shall breathe the air again of the free land and our own beloved home. In the battlefront we stood when their fiercest charge they made, and they swept us off 100 men or more. But before we reached their lines they were beaten back dismayed, and we heard the cry of victory o'er and o'er. Tramp, 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 the boys are marching. Cheer up, comrades, they will come. And beneath the starry flag we shall breathe the air again of the free land and our own beloved home. So within the prison cell we are waiting for the day that shall come to open wide the iron door. And the hollow eye grows bright and the poor heart almost gay as we think of seeing home and friends once more. Tramp, 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 the boys are marching. Cheer up, comrades, they will come. And beneath the starry flag we shall breathe the air again of the free land and our own beloved home. Tramp, 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 the boys are marching. Cheer up, comrades, they will come. And beneath the starry flag we shall breathe the air again of the free land and our own beloved home. pleasures and palaces, though we may roam, be it ever so humble, there's no place like home. A charm from the sky seems to hallow us there, which seek through the world is ne'er met with elsewhere. Home, 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 sweet home. There's no place like home. Oh, there's no place like home. Bring the good old bugle boys, we'll sing another song. Sing it with a spirit that will start the world along. Sing it like we used to sing it, 50,000 strong, while we were marching through Georgia. Hurrah, hurrah, bring the jubilee. Hurrah, hurrah, the flag that makes you free. So we sang the chorus from Atlanta to the sea, while we were marching through Georgia. How the slaves shouted when they heard that joyful sound. How the turkeys gobbled that our commissary found. How the sweet potatoes even started from the ground, while we were marching through Georgia. Hurrah, hurrah, we bring the jubilee. Hurrah, hurrah, the flag that makes you free. So we sang the chorus from Atlanta to the sea, while we were marching through Georgia. Sherman's dashing Yankee boys will never reach the coast. So the saucy rabble said it was a handsome boast. Have they not forgot, alas, to reckon with the host, while we were marching through Georgia? Hurrah, hurrah, we bring the jubilee. Hurrah, hurrah, the flag that makes you free. So we sang the chorus from Atlanta to the sea, while we were marching through Georgia. And so we made a thoroughfare for freedom and her train, 60 miles in latitude, 300 to the main. Treason fled before us, for resistance was in vain, while we were marching through Georgia. Hurrah, hurrah, we bring the jubilee. Hurrah, hurrah, the flag that makes you free. So we sang the chorus from Atlanta to the sea, while we were marching through Georgia. Johnny comes marching home again, hurrah, hurrah. We'll give him a hearty welcome then, hurrah, hurrah. The men will cheer, the boys will shout, the ladies, they will all turn out and we'll all feel gay when Johnny comes marching home. The old church bell will peal with joy, hurrah, hurrah. To welcome home our darling boy, hurrah, hurrah. The village lads and lassies say with roses they will strew the way and we'll all feel gay when Johnny comes marching home. Get ready for the Jubilee, hurrah, hurrah. We'll give the hero 3 times 3, hurrah, hurrah. The laurel wreath is ready now to place upon his loyal brow. We'll all feel gay when Johnny goes marching home. Let love and friendship on that day, hurrah, hurrah. Their choicest treasures then display, hurrah, hurrah. Let each one perform some part to fill with joy the warrior's heart, and we'll all feel gay when Johnny comes marching home. When Johnny comes marching home again, hurrah, hurrah. We'll give him a hearty welcome then, hurrah, hurrah. The men will cheer, the boys will shout, the ladies, they will all turn out and we'll all feel gay when Johnny comes marching home. We'll all feel gay when Johnny comes marching home. Let us pause in life's pleasures and count its many tears, while we all sup sorrow with the poor. There's a song that will linger forever in our ears. Oh, hard times come again no more. 'Tis the song, the sigh of the weary. Hard times come again no more. Many days you have lingered around my cabin door. Oh, hard times come again no more. While we seek mirth and beauty and music light and gay, there are frail forms fainting at the door. Though their voices are silent, their pleading looks will say, oh, hard times come again no more. 'Tis the song, the sigh of the weary. Hard times come again no more. Many days you have lingered around my cabin door. Oh, hard times come again no more. With a worn heart who better days are o'er. Though her voice would be merry just sighing all the day. Oh, hard times come again no more. Just the song, the sigh of the weary. Hard times come again no more. Many days you have lingered around my cabin door. Oh, hard times come again no more. 'Tis a sigh that is wafted across the troubled wave. 'Tis a wail that is heard upon the shore. 'Tis a dirge that is murmured around the lowly grave. Oh, hard times come again no more. 'Tis the song, the sigh of the weary. Hard times come again no more. Many days you have lingered around my cabin door. Oh, hard times come again no more. Oh, hard times come again no more. This is a hammered dulcimer. For those of you who don't know anything or aren't familiar with the hammered dulcimer, I'll be glad to answer, and I encourage you to ask all the questions you have after the program. You can come up, you can take a look at it, you can try your hand at it. A couple people here already have, and they had great fun doing it, I think. But I will tell you this. The hammered dulcimer was probably more well known in the United States at the time of the Civil War than it is today. There were actually a couple of small hammered dulcimer factories in upstate New York, and I would be willing to bet that lots of people played at home on their hammered dulcimers lots of the music that I'll be playing today. The music I'll be playing today was all written during the Civil War or before the Civil War. I'm not playing anything that was written after the Civil War. Those were the two most popular rallying songs of the Civil War. The first was the melody to Dixie. The song Dixie was copywritten in 1860 by Daniel Decatur Emmett, who was a very well-known minstrel show producer, performer, singer, songwriter, banjo player. Minstrelsy, performed in blackface, was probably the most common form of entertainment in the United States at the time, north and south. It was very popular throughout the country. And Dixie, the song, tells a story of a person who had escaped from enslavement and was pining for the good old days on the plantation in the South. It's a very pro-South, pro-Southern plantation way of life song. Emmett, who wrote the song, was born in Ohio. The song, Dixie, was very popular in the North as well as the South. It was Abraham Lincoln's, one of Abraham Lincoln's favorite songs. Lincoln had Dixie played throughout his presidential campaign of 1860. It was played at Lincoln's inauguration as President of the United States in March of 1861. It had also been played a month before, in February of 1861, at the inauguration of Jefferson Davis as President of the Confederacy. And it quickly became the unofficial national anthem of the South, much to the dismay of thousands, tens of thousands of Northerners who loved the song. Lincoln also had Dixie played at the White House on April 10th, 1865, the day after Lee surrendered to Grant at Appomattox, effectively ending the Civil War. The song I sang was the Battle Cry of Freedom, which was written in 1862 by George F. Root, who was a very well-known and prolific songwriter of the period. The Battle Cry of Freedom was the official campaign song of Lincoln's 1864 presidential campaign. It became a very popular song in the country, and By 1867 or so, a couple years after the end of the Civil War, over 700,000 copies of the sheet music of the Battle Cry of Freedom had been sold. And that typifies how music was disseminated then. If you wanted to hear some music at home, no electricity, no electronics, no YouTube, no streaming, one of your best bets, if you wanted music at home, was to play it yourself. And there were lots of instruments in homes, band instruments, of course, brass instruments and whistles and pipes of all kinds. There were banjos and fiddles, guitars, hammer dulcimers, mountain dulcimers. Pianos were proportionately less expensive than they are now, so there were more pianos relatively. And if you wanted to learn some music, you might buy the sheet music for it. And if you wanted to go out and try to hear some songs that you might want to learn, you would go to live professional, traveling music acts, live music. Taking the family to live music was a very popular and relatively economical form of entertainment back then. No jam production companies, no $300 concert tickets. It was very affordable to take the family to go to a live concert. And one of the most best known and most popular traveling music groups was the Hutchinson family singers from New Hampshire. If any of you remember or are familiar with the Weavers, the folk group that Pope Pete Seeger led through the 1940s, 50s, 60s, 70s, the Hutchinson family were the weavers of their day. They were very active in political and social movements. They were active in the temperance movement, very active in the women's suffrage movement, very active in the abolitionist movement, and active in both Lincoln campaigns. And here's a song that they wrote for the 1860 Lincoln presidential campaign. They set it to the old Irish tune, Rousing the Bow, and I'll also sing some verses that they added for the 1864 campaign. There's a line I have to explain, and that is, "The pride of the suckers so lucky." People who lived in Illinois were called suckers. Most likely because there was a lead mine in Galena, in the northwest corner of the state on the Mississippi. And most of the miners lived in southern Illinois or in Missouri, and they would come up river in the spring to work in the mine. And then in the fall, they would go back downriver to spend the winter at home. And that mirrored the migration of suckerfish in the river. Suckerfish are kind of a catfish. And so people who lived in Illinois were called suckers. Here's the Hutchinson family song, Lincoln and Liberty Too. In October of 1859, John Brown led 22 men in a raid on the federal arsenal at Harper's Ferry, Virginia. His aim was to capture the weapons that were there at the arsenal, and then he thought he was going to be met by tens of thousands of people escaping slavery, with whom he would form an army and then establish a slave-free republic in the mountains of the South. And from there, he hoped peacefully would abolish slavery in the rest of the United States. The raid, of course, was defeated. John Brown was hung on December 2nd, 1859. But nevertheless, it proved to be a catalyst in moving the country toward civil war. In the North, though most people disagreed with Brown's tactics, he was viewed widely as a hero and a martyr in the struggle for the abolition of slavery. In the South, the slavocracy, the rulers of the slaverocrats, the rulers of the slavocracy, had been scared to death ever since Nat Turner's rebellion of 1831 that there would be a mass slave revolt and take over the plantations and wipe out slavery. And they were convinced, the Southern leaders were convinced that the Northern states were going to do this. We're going to foment a slave rebellion. And so even though Brown's raid failed, they were convinced that this indicated that, yes, indeed, that's what the North had intentions to do, was to foment a mass slave rebellion. So that steeled the thinking of the Southern leaders towards secession, which they carried out when Lincoln was elected because they thought he was going to abolish slavery. Here are a couple of fiddle tunes from the time with John Brown in the title. The first is called "They Swung John Brown to a Sour Apple Tree," and the second is "John Brown's Dream." Many of you know probably that the Civil War was the deadliest war that the United States has ever fought in terms of the number of soldiers killed, and I'm talking about soldiers north and south. For most of the time since the end of the war, the official estimate of soldiers killed in the Civil War was about 620,000. Modern computerized demographic studies indicate that it's much more likely that there were more like 700 to 750,000 soldiers killed in the Civil War. At the 620,000 number, that would be more U.S. soldiers killed in the Civil War than all the other wars the U.S. had fought in up to the Vietnam War. At the 700,000 number, that's more U.S. soldiers killed in the Civil War alone than in all the other wars the U.S. has ever fought in. Revolutionary War, First World War, Second World War, Vietnam War, Korean War, all the wars don't add up to the number of U.S. soldiers killed in the Civil War. To put it in some perspective, the population then was about 10% of what it is now. So the 620,000 number would be equivalent to 6,200,000 soldiers killed now. And the battle that foretold how horrible this war was going to be was the Battle of Shiloh Hill, which was fought April 6th and 7th, 1862 in southwest Tennessee. There were 26,000 casualties at Shiloh, which represented about 25%, a quarter of all the soldiers who fought there. At the time, it was the deadliest battle the U.S. had ever fought in. By the end of the Civil War, it was the sixth worst, with Gettysburg being the worst with 51,000 casualties. There was a Confederate private from Texas who fought at Shiloh Hill and lived and wrote a song about the battle afterwards. His name, all we know of his name was how he signed the song, and that was with his initials M.B. Smith. So here's M.B. Smith's song, Shiloh Hill. In 1855, a man named William Steffi wrote a hymn called "Brothers, Will You Meet Us?", which became a very popular hymn at church camp meetings and around campfires and at regular church services. It became a very well-known song and hymn in the United States. And in January of 1860, some soldiers in Massachusetts put new words to the melody of that hymn, words about John Brown, and made it into the song "John Brown's Body," which became a very popular marching song with soldiers in the North. I doubt that it was very popular with soldiers in the South. And in November of 1861, after the war had started, Julia Ward Howe was visiting a Union Army encampment outside of Washington, D.C. And she saw and heard some soldiers marching by singing John Brown's Body. And a friend who was with her said, "Julia, you write poetry. You could write a great, stirring, patriotic hymn to that wonderful melody and stirring chorus." And so she went back to her hotel room that night and wrote the Battle Hymn of the Republic, which has been used many, many times, countless times since then, as a takeoff for other songs, satirical songs, political songs, humorous songs, kids' songs. And that was done during the Civil War too. And one of the songs that was written using the Battle Hymn of the Republic as its melody was the official marching song of the First Arkansas Voluntary Infantry Regiment of African Descent, also known as the First Arkansas Colored Regiment. Up until the middle or so of 1862, Lincoln had resisted his general's urging to allow the enlistment and recruitment of African-American soldiers into the Union Army. There are lots of African-American people who mostly who had escaped from slavery who were working at Union Army camps doing really basically menial jobs, and they were begging to be allowed to fight, but Lincoln would not allow it. But finally, by the middle or so of 1862, it became apparent that the Union was going to need all the manpower and all the moral authority they could get to win the war. And so, in conjunction with the Emancipation Proclamation, Lincoln issued an edict allowing the enlistment and recruitment of African-American soldiers into the Union Army. Eventually, over 180,000 African-Americans, again, mostly people who had escaped from slavery, fought with the Union. The most well-known African-American regiment, of course, was the 54th Massachusetts, which was depicted in the great movie Glory. But there were lots of others, and the First Arkansas was one of them, and their captain, Lindley Miller, who was white, as were all the captains of the African-American troops, wrote their official marching song, the song they sang as they marched in formation, as they marched into battle. He wrote it to the melody of the Battle Hymn of the Republic. So, sit back and relax, because here are John Brown's Body, the Battle Hymn of the Republic, and the official marching song of the First Arkansas Voluntary Infantry Regiment of African Descent. There were some Southern generals who said that there was a song that lost the war for the South. The song was written in 1856 by Henry Webster. He wrote a poem about the breakup of his love affair with his fiancée. And his friend, Joseph Philbrick Webster, who was no relation, put the poem to music and published it as a song in 1857. It was a very sentimental song and became very widely popular throughout the United States. It became very especially popular during the Civil War with soldiers. And the Southern generals said that this song made their soldiers so homesick and heartsick and lovesick that they lost their fighting spirit, and that cost the South the war. So here's the song that lost the war for the South, Lorena. There were two main reasons why the Civil War was as horribly deadly and bloody as it was. The first was that military tactics lagged far behind military technology. Up to the time of the Civil War, the rifle, the gun, the long gun used in battle was the smooth-bore musket, which fired a round ball, came out, sort of went like that, and was accurate to maybe 20 to 30 yards. And the tactics were that the soldiers would mass, march toward each other, fire, not do much damage because the guns were not very accurate, and then run and meet in hand-to-hand combat. And in fact, up until the Civil War, the killing weapon on the battlefield was really the bayonet. By the time of the Civil War, the rifle-barreled musket, much like the rifle-barreled rifle that we know today, had been developed with rifling inside the barrel, and a new kind of bullet. It was actually called a mini ball, M-I-N-I-E, but it was really a conical-shaped bullet, looking very much like the bullet we have today. And when the rifle was fired, it spun with the rifling inside the barrel and came out like a perfectly thrown spiral pass and was accurate to 200 to 300 yards, 10 times the accuracy of the old smoothbore muskets. But for much of the war, the tactics didn't change. The soldiers massed, marched to maybe 100 to 200 yards of one another, fired, but now they were firing with much, much more accurate weapons, and they mowed each other down. It was a bloodbath. It was horrible. And the second reason for the deadliness of the war was that medical technology was still really in primitive stages. They did not understand germ theory. They did not know that without sanitary conditions, germs would spread and create infections and disease. And so they were totally unprepared to care for the number or severity of wounds suffered on the battlefield. There were also some shortages of food and clothing, especially for Southern soldiers. And if you can't take care of your own soldiers, if you can't give them good, adequate medical care, if you can't ensure that they're going to be adequately fed and clothed, you're not going to do much for captured enemy soldiers. And being a prisoner of war in the Civil War was a horrible prospect. It's always a horrible prospect, but especially so in the Civil War. Almost 60,000 prisoners of war died in prison camps in the Civil War. And in 1864, George F. Root wrote a song that he intended to raise the morale of Union troops who were in Southern prison camps, Confederate prison camps. And the song became very, very popular with soldiers, very popular marching song, actually, on both sides of the war. I'll sing it now. It's Tramp, 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 the Boys Are Marching. And I'll follow it right up with a fiddle tune. There was a great fiddler from West Virginia named Saul Carpenter. In fact, the Carpenter family, his extended family descendants, still contains many great fiddlers. And Saul Carpenter volunteered for the Confederate Army, was captured, taken to the Union prison camp at Camp Chase outside Columbus, Ohio. And at some point, the commander of the camp called a bunch of the Southern prisoners together who were fiddlers, and he said, okay, I love fiddling, we're going to have a fiddle contest. And whoever wins, and I decide who wins, whoever wins goes free. So that was a pretty big deal, possibly life or death. And the fiddlers took it very seriously, and Saul Carpenter won. Of course, as soon as he got home, he re-upped in the Army, went back to fight. He was, fortunately, he was not captured or wounded. And after he got out, he played this tune a lot, the tune that he had played to win. Played it a lot, and it's become sort of a pretty standard part of the old-time fiddle repertoire, and it's come to be called Camp Chase. So here's Tramp, 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 the Boys Are Marching, and Camp Chase. There were lots of musicians in the Civil War. Up until about the last year or so and a half of the war, both armies followed the protocols established by the U.S. Army before the war, and that was that for every 1,000-soldier regiment, there had to be a 24-person marching band. And every 100-person company had to have at least 2 musicians, generally a fifer or a bugler and a drummer. And many times during the Civil War, the armies would camp after a day of killing each other. They would camp very close, sometimes within shouting distance. And a fairly common occurrence was that a band at night after supper on one of the sides, would start up playing a tune, and then a band on the other side would start up a different tune, louder, trying to drown out the first guys. And then a band on the first side was a different tune, louder, another tune, louder, until you really had this cacophonous battle of the bands going on. And that was actually a pretty common occurrence during the Civil War. There was a private from South Carolina who fought with the Confederate Army, fought through the war and survived, and wrote a memoir afterwards. His name was Frank Mixon, and he described an event. Actually, this event was described many times by other people, but not quite as vividly as Mixon described it. An event in December of 1862, after the Battle of Fredericksburg, when there were about 100,000 Union troops camped on one side of the Rappahannock River, and about 70,000 Confederate troops on the other side. And on this night, Mixon says, a Union band started up playing a tune. And then the Confederate band joined in, same tune in unison. And then another Union band, same tune in unison, Confederate band, same tune. Back and forth. until all the musicians on both sides, and with 170,000 soldiers, there were lots of musicians, were playing together, same music. And Mixon says that they played and played and played. He says you could hear nothing in the night air but this, as he called it, this glorious music. He said they played and played. When they were done, they leaped into the air, they threw their hats in the air, they hooped and they hollered. He felt that if there hadn't been a river between them, they'd have run, shook hands, and gone home. The melody that all those soldiers played together on that night was the melody for a song written in 1823 for an Italian opera called Clary, or The Maid of Milan. And the song became very, very popular way outside of operatic circles. It was another one of Abraham Lincoln's favorite songs, and in fact, in 1862, when there was a young but already very famous operatic soprano named Adelina Patti doing a series of concerts in Washington, Lincoln invited her to come to the White House to sing this song to give him and Mary Todd Lincoln some solace after the death of their son Willie. And the song, the melody that all those soldiers played together on that night was Home Sweet Home. Union General William Tecumseh Sherman knew that there was no place like home, and he planned what turned out to be the final decisive campaign of the war, his march to the sea from Atlanta to the Atlantic in November and December of 1864, in order to destroy as much of Southern home life as he could. His 50,000 soldiers cut a swath of destruction, 60 miles wide, 300 miles long. They destroyed all the industrial facilities and factories, railroads, bridges. They destroyed and took livestock and crops in the field, destroyed roads, all in an attempt to break the fighting spirit of the South, and they largely succeeded. As they marched, tens of thousands of Southerners began marching with them, and not just people escaping slavery, but also white Southerners who could see that the war was over. And in early 1865, another very prolific and successful songwriter of the period, Henry Clay Work, wrote a song about the march, which became very popular in the North, very unpopular in the South. People who grew up in the South still know this song and hate it. Sherman himself came to hate it because he said it was played wherever he went. He could not get away from it. He grew sick and tired of it. But to my knowledge, William Tecumseh Sherman is not here today. So here's Marching Through Georgia. In July of 1862, after the 7 days battle outside of Richmond, Virginia, a Union general, Dan Butterfield, wanted his bugler, Oliver Norton, to play a bugle call in tribute to the 26,000 total soldiers on both sides, 26,000 who had died in the battle. And Butterfield had actually made up a new bugle call based on some old tunes, but it was a new call. And he gave it to Norton. Historians are pretty agreed that this is the story of this tune. What they're not sure of is whether Butterfield hummed it to Oliver Norton or actually had it written out and gave it to him. But in any case, Norton played it as Butterfield gave it to him. And the tune so gripped soldiers on both sides that it quickly became the official bugle call played in honor of fallen soldiers and the official lights out call on both sides of the war and after the war for the United States Army. And that tune, of course, is Taps, which I'm going to play now. And I'm going to follow it right up with a song that was written in 1863 by Patrick Gilmore, who was the a bandmaster of the Union troops occupying New Orleans. He actually wrote this song for his sister, whose fiance, John O'Rourke, was an officer in the Union Army and was off fighting. And all his friends and family, of course, hoped for his return safe and sound. So here's Taps and When Johnny Comes Marching Home. Thank you. I'm going to end now with a song that's my favorite song of the many songs written by one of America's great song composers. The song was written in 1854 and was very popular throughout the country before, during, and after the war. It was written by Stephen Foster, and it's Hard Times Come Again No More. Bring the good old bugle boys, we'll sing another song, sing it with